What's up, LEGO fans? Nick from Nick's Brick Builds here, and today we're going to take a look at the newest LEGO Ideas set, the Apollo Saturn V rocket. If you haven't already done so, I did a speed build of this video, and that's up on my channel, and if you check out the cards above, you'll be directed to that video, or the link will be in the description below. Building this set was really satisfying. Very interesting ways of putting pieces together and putting sections together, not only to get some of the shapes, but the overall cylindrical shape of the rocket. When you get close up, and as we get to the more close up parts of the video, we'll see sort of how those cylindrical shapes come across close up, but far away you really can't tell that it's not made out of a complete circle. The set comes in at just over 3 feet, either in length or in height, depending on how you have the set oriented. Right now, I have the set lengthwise just due to the size of it, so that way I can get the whole thing in view. The set has 1,969 pieces, which is definitely related to the first moon landing, which was in 1969, July 20th, 1969. For $120, the price to part ratio is really good. The set is made out of a lot of smaller pieces, but there are larger pieces hidden in the superstructure of the rocket. The rocket can split into its 3 separate stages, which we'll look at individually. You also get a scene of the splashdown of the command module, as well as a small little lunar surface scene. So let's take a look at the individual sections, and we'll be back soon. Alright, so here we have the first stage of the Saturn V rocket, the Saturn 1C stage. This stage had 5 F1 engines, and which is where the name Saturn V came in. And as we can see, they did a great job on really modeling out and really detailing these engines. Not just the engines, but the whole part of the Saturn V where the engines are placed. They did a really great job of detailing all of that. And the builds for these were actually really interesting. These pieces right here are on hinges that fold outwards, and then as you put it together, these things clamp together to create the cowlings for the top part of the engines. That was really cool. One of the things that I had mentioned earlier is just the ability of this being a circle. And so as you can see inside, you can kind of get a little bit of the detailing of what's going on inside. But as you look around, they really did a great job of trying to get this circular cylinder shape. And I really think that, especially from far away, really shines as part of this model. Lots of studs on the side construction, especially for all of this smoothness. We get some special prints here. We get USA, and that's repeated 4 times, as well as this American flag, which is also repeated 4 times on this rocket. This side piece, this whole sort of band section, it's also repeated on the second stage. I found that was sort of the point where the circle, or the illusion of the circle, sort of got lost a little bit due to the flatness here. Right, so you sort of, as you can see, sort of see that little bump of that transition from pieces that are sort of more angled versus a flat piece, and it happens on all of them. Close up, you start to see these little inconsistencies in those little details, but far away, it does a great job of being blended quite nicely. So here we have the second stage by itself of the Saturn V rocket. After about a little bit over 2.5 minutes of burn time, the first stage would separate from the rest of the rocket, and the second stage would continue to push the command module, service module, and LEM to orbit. And I think the one thing that I'm a little disappointed about in the build is that there's an iconic scene that we always see from archive NASA footage of a inner stage which surrounds the engines here of between the first and the second stage, falling away and sort of burning up into the atmosphere of Earth. And it would have been really cool if LEGO and the builders and the design team were able to incorporate that little modular build as something separate from the first stage. It's a minor detail, but I think that that's such an iconic scene. We see that all the time in archive footage of the Saturn V taking off, but that would be really cool to see. So like the first stage, this is built primarily the same way. Again, lots of studs on the side construction to get all of these flat plates on their sides. We have 5, these are J2 engines, or models of J2 engines. Again, arranged similarly to the first stage. And here we can kind of get a glimpse of seeing how the first stage connects to the second stage through these clips. And there are clips on the inside of the first stage that it clips together. And it's very secure coupling. Again, we have this great strip using these grill pieces. Again, from far away, it's not that big a deal, but as you get close up, you can kind of see that the strict circular nature is a little hard to reinforce, and that might just be builder error maybe a little bit, but I just think in trying to do a circle with very, very small pieces that are at different angles than the rest of it. Again, being far away from this, it really does create the illusion of a circle or of a cylinder. Closer up, you start to see those little minor imperfections, but I think as a display piece, it's really nice. It was really cool how we got the sort of the sloping up into the adapter for the third stage, and they did it in 2 ways. One is that they used sort of these slope pieces. Let's see if I can take this off easily to see. Yep, there we go. So we used this slope piece in 4 areas, and then combined that with some straight pieces that are on hinges. You can kind of see the wiggle room of that to bring everything in closer. So that way the diameter of the third stage, this transitions neatly into that third stage. Okay, so here we have the third stage. This is the Saturn IV stage. And this stage is outfitted with a single J2 engine, and it's the same exact build of an engine that we had on the second stage. They give a little bit of greebling here, which is really nice to see for the engine. So the Saturn IV stage, actually in this configuration, when it's launched, or when it separates from the Saturn II or the S2 stage, you actually wouldn't have the escape tower or this protective cone on the command module at this point. That would be separated when the rocket separates from the first stage, actually. But I figured I would show it here, and then let's see what it looks like with just the command module. Okay, so this is what the Saturn IV would look like in flight, separated from everything. And the only thing about this stage that I'm a little disappointed with, but I don't know how LEGO would have done it, is that the adapter module for the connection between the command module and the Saturn IV stage, this uses 2 halves, sort of 2 half cones, and you can see the split here and here. Uses very big pieces. But this actually splits into 4 pieces, and it splits away and hinges back this way, into 4 separate pieces. And it would have been cool for LEGO to find a way to incorporate that. I think, again, that's another really iconic visual that we see of the Saturn IV separation from the command service module. I don't know if they have a way of doing that. I don't know if they have these pieces instead of half pieces as quarter pieces. And I don't know how complicated it would be to rig this up so that way they have hinges come out and for it to also be stable. It's just things that I know about the rocket that would really be interesting to have seen been done. When the crew is ready to link the command service module with the LEM, the separation is, you can kind of replicate that here by taking off those, and then you can actually keep in, whoops, the LEM, and just as in real life, the shielding actually splits away completely from the craft. You can actually come in and dock the command service module with the LEM, fly it around. So here we have the Apollo spacecraft as it would be in most of its flight. We've got this canonical command module, followed by the service module here, and then the LEM here. Now, some interesting things. I really like what they did with the RCS thrusters. They're using these flower pieces. And so the RCS thrusters would have a thruster in each direction to control the orientation of that spacecraft. And that's a really cool little detail that they have in here. As you can see, we'll get a better look at this later, but we have a nice print for the hatch and the windows on the command module, as well as a really nice build for the LEM, the Lunar Excursion Module or Lunar Module, and a really great print for the front, or for the hatchway, and again, the windows of that. When it's separated, we have this little axle that plugs in to the top of the LEM, which is okay if you're going to display it this way. That looks kind of cool, actually, right? The other thing, and I don't know how LEGO would have accomplished this, is how the tail end rocket connects to the service module. We get a lot of space here, but that's mainly so that way when these cowlings are on, when these half cones are on, the rocket engine can actually fit in. Again, I don't think that they have a piece where this is hollow and hollowed out enough to fit otherwise. So that's just sort of a issue that just sort of exists. And you know, if you're not going to display the command service module on its own, it's actually not that big of a deal. So here we have the lunar scene little lunar scene that they put together. We have the lunar module landed on the moon's surface, and in actuality there would only be two astronauts on the moon's surface, and then they give us, and we'll take a closer look at each one of those microfigs as well as that American flag there. But this is just a really nice scene set up with the lunar module landed. Unfortunately, the lunar module does not split. When the lunar module would launch from the surface of the moon, the descent stage, which is the landing stage with these landing legs here, would stay down and act as a launch pad for the ascent stage, the second half, the top part of the lunar module to return back to the spacecraft. You can kind of see the hint of that separation point, but it's not meant to do that. There's no second engine or anything like that. I really like the detail that they went into in just these greebles and the shaping of this module. They're using periscope pieces as the legs with little robot arm clips to clip to the lunar module. And just again, just nice shaping, really doing a great job of capturing the shape and the essence of what that little spidery lunar module looked like. And I think that the addition of those microfigs really aid in the look of this scene. So the final piece of this set is a small splashdown scene with the command module by itself. The command module was the only thing that survived from the trip. So out of everything that we saw, all the pieces, all the stages, all the separations, the command module is the only thing that came back to Earth returning the 3 astronauts, and that wasn't reusable. That was the only part of the ship meant to come back and to return the astronauts. What's really cool is that even though they didn't, with this scene, they didn't have to, they actually suggest the idea of a heat shield, which is pretty cool. This thing just built out of some arm pieces, I believe. Goes just around the command module to act as its flotation device. A raft sort of would blow up around the service module to keep it buoyant. And these 3 pieces, those were remnants of the parachutes and that whole parachute system. Again, very iconic imagery of these 3 little balloons at the top as the command module just sort of bounces in the water waiting to be rescued by Navy officers. So the set comes with 3 micro figures, sort of those trophy figures that come in other sets, and the detailing on the suits are really quite good. They've got some really great detailing on their moon suits, which is really cool. And then we also have the American flag, a nice print on a clear piece, sort of when put in between a few studs, creates the illusion of the American flag standing up and posing. Alright, so that's it for my review of the Apollo Saturn V Ideas set. This set was really a must-have for me. As a kid, I sort of researched and collected lots of things, space, NASA related, especially the I would call the vintage space, the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo programs. Those were really things of interest to me. I did lots of research on. I remember watching lots of documentaries about this stuff, and it's really cool to get a great display model. Like I said, all the points that I had mentioned in the review, they're really small points, really picky points. They don't keep me from enjoying the set. They don't keep me from being proud of displaying this set at all, but they are points that I thought are interesting enough to at least speak about in a review and sort of give some explanation for. I think all together, set this way, with the rocket set horizontally and the splashdown and lunar landing scene, I think it makes for just a nice display scene that you could put up on a shelf or maybe a display table, as it were. I know that for me, this will be the centerpiece of a space display that I will be creating. So that's it for this exhaustive review on the Apollo Saturn V set. If you haven't already done so, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to my channel. I release videos throughout the week, and your support is greatly appreciated. And that's it for now. See you guys later. Thanks. Bye.